So I've told you about the types of errors that you can run into if you are imprecise. Now I have to tell you another thing. While logical mistakes, that is bugs, are allowed to go through, meaning you can publish your program and you will just have to find out about the bugs later on, or you might have prevented those bugs as much as you could. The other types of errors, the ones of grammar, they are not even allowed to go through. So what does it mean? Who is refusing your code? Because there is some code refusal. Before I can answer this question, I have to tell you a little bit about another concept. So computer hardware actually understands one single language, and this language is not the Python language. What Python actually is an intermediary language. It is not the language that machines speak. Machines do not speak Python. You speak Python. So why do we use Python? Why do we use an intermediary and we don't use directly the language of machines? That is because Python is simpler to use compared to the language of machines. And Python is also well suited to be converted into the language of machines when we are ready to send that program with instructions contained in it to the machine to follow those instructions. But why is it simple to use? Well, it looks a lot more like human language compared to the language of machines. Look at it. This is the language of machines. It is a sequence of zeros and ones. It is called the binary language or binary code. Now, this particular case of binary code, it is simply a representation of 5 words, and it is not complicated at all, but it would take you some time to decipher it if you knew how to translate it. Imagine a complicated program. Well, it would be inefficient to try to understand it, read that code, that program directly in this language, or write it directly in this language. It would be hard to think in this type of language. That's why we use intermediary languages, and one of these is Python. Now, what this means is that there is a process of translation. And how does it happen? Well, you have to download and install on your computer a software called the Python interpreter, and we will do this together within this lesson. What the Python interpreter does, it starts a process which ultimately leads to the translation of the Python code into binary code, which is then sent by the Python interpreter to the machine, and the machine can understand that code and follow those instructions contained in that binary code. Now, when I say that the process is started by the Python interpreter, I mean that there's multiple phases to it. And during the first of these phases, one thing that happens is the reading of your code by the Python interpreter. And as it reads it, it checks for issues of grammar. Now, issues of grammar, I said, are issues of orthography and syntax. And if there is any of these issues, the code is refused by the interpreter. The code is not allowed to access the other phases of the process started by the Python interpreter.